Okay, I've got a lot of things to cover. Some of the immortal words of that one guy from Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts. Today I present to you Film Columns Grad Review 2008, Walk Tall, The Legend of Phil, or The Best Semester Ever, First Blood, Part 3. Basically, 3 things transpired this semester which will academically come to an end in roughly 1 hour. First, I'm graduating. No matter what happens here, I'm on my way out. Second, I put up a show on the tweet, and some say it points out what an egotistical and narcissistic bastard I am, which, ironically, I'm not. Or am I? Finally, I wrote and defended my thesis. My committee was Steve, Robin, and Robert, here portrayed as a single entity referred to as the Committee Dragon. Here's me defending their fire and theoretical questions with my shield and sword of truth. Actually, it wasn't that bad. Had I planned accordingly, we probably would have all eaten cake and danced. In the spirit of my thesis project and show, however, I shall rename this presentation I Equal Awesome, a presentation with Phil. Since I have come to the conclusion that everything we do somehow defines our personal brands, you are about to bear witness to everything I've accomplished this semester. Ready? Go. First, we'll look at a class project created for Grad 7 Studio. We redesigned our resumes. Of course, how can we redesign without finding our old ones? Here's one from 3 years ago. Notice the salmon and how it screams, "I don't really want this job! I've used salmon coloring, poorly aligned Century Gothic and Times New Roman!" This is from last year. It's better, but there's a lot of black. It matches my website, and then I use Century Gothic primary design colors, and it's all about me. Finally, this is what I came up with. It's a little more visually and conceptually interesting, but it's much more fitting. Look, it's raining letters. Whee! Next, we had to lead a class discussion. I chose Rosalind Krauss as the originality of avant-garde. Why? Because I kind of enjoy wading theoretical and unavailing exercises which employ magniloquent diction in order to speak highly of oneself, to perceptually elevate the intelligence of the critic in the eyes of simple plebeians who might stumble upon such an extortionate piece of literature, which, in the end, expounds nothing more than the premise summed up thusly: creativity equals constant practice plus critical examination plus doing what you enjoy. At least Josh made a good connection between Shepard Fairey and Sherry Levine. Also, we did a wayfinding project. I made some icons, many of which were not used. We also had to enter at least 2 competitions, one being the student show. I entered 3 things: a slightly reworked and still awesome piece affectionately retitled My Hitler Poster, The Philo and the Phil Suit. The Philo was created in Illustrator, printed, and then hand-sewn. It's Phil, portable, huggable, lovable Phil. The Phil Suit was made in Photoshop and then printed and sewn using a sewing machine that probably runs on atomic power. What's it like to be Phil? Now you can find out. I also entered 3 other contests. First was the Adobe Student Design Competition, in which I entered 2 things: my thesis book and some self-promotional illustrations. I searched for famous Phils and turned them into designs for posters, t-shirts, and a business card. They have the style of a constructivist poster with none of the overbearing socialist ideas. Second, I entered a contest on StrikingMagnetism.com for their 1 to 3 second video project. Here it is. At this point, I'd like to break the monotony of school and discuss other pertinent parts of my life. Video games. Overall, I played 9 games, but technically I'm still playing one, so it's a half a game in the list. First, I played Super Paper Mario, starting on Christmas Day and ending sometime shortly after New Year's. Just under 20 hours, and although the gameplay was fun at first, the game quickly became a mixture of cliches, sophomoric humor, and violence. B-. Next, I finished up Phantasy Star 4, originally for Sega Genesis. I had started during finals week, but had to quit when I flew home. I actually referred to this game in my retrospective. A+ because I'm a sucker for games that are interrelated with one another and for cyborgs and saving the world and shit. Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess was perhaps the biggest mistake during the first week or so of school. I sank roughly 50 hours in order to find all the glowing bugs, heart pieces, great fairies, and pose. I give it an A+. Oh my god, I love this game, and saved Hyrule again. Then I downloaded Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Wii Virtual Console, signing away another 10 hours for $8. It was good, but it led to online message boards trying to determine how it and the other 12 or so games in the series tied together and ultimately came up with some sort of alternate reality timeline that still blows my mind. Oh, A-. Over Christmas break, I also purchased Doom 3 because I love the original 2. All I can say is wow. I almost pooped myself twice, once because of how awesome it is and once because of how tense it is sometimes. And then again for how awesome it is. A+ poop. I also played Metroid Prime 3 and Guitar Hero 3. Metroid Prime 3 is great, although it took me a few hours to get used to the controls. Guitar Hero 3 was also awesome, although I feel weird being that guy who plays a party game by himself late at night. A and A. The 2 newest games I played are Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Mario Kart. SSBB is awesome because I love the strange interconnectedness of all these unconnected series. And I just about cried at the entrance of Solid Snake, who none of you care about at all. I win. A for Whee! Mario Kart is okay, but it's getting boring playing alone. I'm officially that guy again. Fail. Of course, I've had other classes and other projects this semester. First, I finished up the website for the VizLab, which later won an award for the Student Web Design Competition. I also had a drawing class, and that's what I made the Philo and the Phil Suit for. They won an award, albeit a strange award. I also had a history of graphic design. For this class, I took some tests and made a presentation about branding through marketing and concept. I visually compared Bush to Hitler, called Paris Hilton a whore, and showed a clip of I Love Lucy in which they say Philip Morris 4 times over the course of 30 seconds and each smoke a cigarette. As I already mentioned, I finished my thesis this semester. I wrote the paper over the course of a couple of weeks. It was proofread, revised, and then handed over to my committee. I also worked with Jennifer Gordon on my retrospective, which tied directly with my thesis. I spent 5 months scanning and stitching pieces in Photoshop. I then put the layout together, wrote the introductory article, typeset everything more than once, and then sent it away so that I could get a proof printed. I'm still waiting. Again, my show is up too. It focuses on the absurdity of the dehumanized personal brand. But that's not all that happened this semester. At some point I went to Avenue Q in Minneapolis. This musical is awesome, and if you get the chance to see it, you should. I learned that everyone has a purpose and everyone is a little bit racist, even you. I recently went to a funeral for my grandfather who was in the Navy in World War II. That was a lot of traveling and meeting family members I never knew existed squished into 2.5 days. I also went to the Walker and saw the Kahlo exhibit as well as some photography exhibit. They were pretty good. I'm not really a fan of Kahlo. I also read 2 books. Bunnicula was a book I got in, I think, 3rd grade from a book order. I read it twice a couple weeks ago. Gathering Blue is the sequel to The Giver and continues the faux utopian society. It's also about the difficulties of being an artist, which as an angsty grad student I feel every minute of every day. Finally, I spent some time watching movies. I watched Mortal Kombat for the first time since it was in theaters. Never rewatch movies you haven't seen in years, especially if you loved it as a child. Originally 4 stars, now 2.5, but still secretly 4. Princess Bride is just great. I still love it. 5 stars, all around. I saw Royal Tenenbaums for the first time. Although really good, I can only give it 3 stars. Okay, I lied. 5 stars. 28 Days Later doesn't even get a score, because I love zombies and I always imagined that I'd be the guy who survives and lives out his days comfortably. I take that back. I liked it so much that it gets 2 guys on motorcycles, a medal, and a trophy. Oh, and some lightning. 300 was also good, and I wish I had seen it in theaters. Again, all about survivals and heroics. Oh, and betrayal. And loincloths. Superbad is a great coming-of-age story with a lot of penis jokes and lewd references to genitalia and sexual relations. Do not see this with your friend's mom. 5 stars. My mom sent me Across the Universe on a whim. Since it's a musical that revolves around the songs of the Beatles, you grow into the fact that the main characters' names are Jude and Lucy, and as such, you spend the whole movie waiting for Hey Jude and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Guess what? It has a happy ending. 3 stars. Most recently, I watched Cloverfield and was surprised that even though I was watching it on my laptop, I was still at the edge of my seat most of the time. If you missed the alternate reality game that hyped this movie since last year, read through the CloverfieldClues.com archive. Although I wasn't a part of it, I was giddy with anticipation. Oh, and it's a monster movie. I almost forgot. I also saw I Am Legend. Why did I almost forget? Because I sat for 2 hours and the climax felt like it was thrown together by a 3-year-old. Watch the movie and then leave as soon as you're excited to find out what happens next. You'll enjoy the experience more. 1 star, and the star has stink lines because there isn't a pile of poop glyph. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for putting up with me for 2 years, and if you know anyone in Florida looking for a designer, let me know.